Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the propaganda of black and globalist type activists, brown activists as well, about that white people or white people in white societies and white majority countries are harboring some sort of secret desire to deport all blacks back to Africa, and this is considered to be Nazi and fascist. It's Hitler. It's swastikas. It's the whole nine yards, and is considered with much fear and concern by black people. Those Nazis are trying to push us out and get rid of us. They think we're inferior to them, and the Nazis are going to do. Look what the Nazis are planning to do to us. And there have been various movies, and these so-called documentaries that are made where they'll find somebody, some white guy says, well, yeah, I don't know, why don't the black people go back to Africa? And but the claim is, or the propaganda activist claim is that this is a secret sort of Nazi-like desire that all white people harbor to send black people back to Africa. Now, at the same time, however, the same activists are also using two additional arguments. One is that the white people are oppressing black people in places like the United States, for example, are oppressing black people and want black people to be kept there so they can be oppressed. The black people can't get out. They can't escape from this oppression. There's nowhere they can go to escape from it. The white people are determined to keep them there, keep them down, and keep Nazi oppressing them. Well, hold on. You were just saying a moment ago they want to deport you to Africa, where you'd be free of all these white Nazis. So at the same time, they're trying to deport you and keep you there at the same time. I mean, wow, can you have both there? And then there's the additional straw man these activists invent, all part of the wider grievance victim, industrial complex here. But to say that the reason mass migration is happening, with a lot of black people coming to the West, is so they can have more blacks to exploit and oppress and so on and so forth. Now, I don't know, how can all three be sort of true at the same time? These are people who certainly the emotional sort of furor and optics of things are what they're chasing here, rather than any factual reality or any known reality. So let's have a little look at this. There have been some interesting examples where black people are being, this is coming from Africa to, say, the European West. They're asking, why are you coming to these white countries? Hey, I'm coming for the free stuff. They're giving away free stuff to people like me, and I'm happy to come along and take it. Now, when they get sort of interviewed properly, and you actually get to see the interview online, they'll say, no, they left a perfectly safe situation in some rural, mud hut in Africa. Agitators and stirrers came around from the United Nations or globalists funded, immigration agent agitators came around saying, hey, guess what? You ought to leave your dirt poor shanty village that you've never traveled more than a few miles from in your entire life. And you ought to go to these white Western countries, and they'll give you free this and free that, and things that you couldn't even dream of having here in Africa. Those white countries, they'll give it to you all for free. And by the way, why are you living in a mud hut and living hand to mouth, a subsistence agriculturally? Well, why are you living that way when those white people have so much? It's because they stole it from you. Yeah, that's what they stole. So you're only going to take back what was yours anyway. But I don't know, it's a long way away. It's thousands of miles. These are people that can't even conceive these sort of distances. It doesn't matter. We'll help you get there. We'll provide all the transport. We'll provide the clothing. We'll provide the food. We'll provide the water. The entire logistics of getting you from here to the West, we'll cover the whole lot. We'll look after you, for the entire journey or most of it. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, all right then. Well, why not? So they're being helped, aided and abetted to go to the West, and they're being given lots of free stuff. So that's why they're going. There's nothing, not even a scintilla of organic people movement in this, not a scintilla. So, in spite of the claims about, well, the population of Africa is growing, no. These are illiterate IQ 70 peasants. They cannot even conceive of traveling and making those journeys. They don't have the means or the resources to do it. A massive people transport infrastructure has been put in place by the globalists to facilitate. Anyway, so the black people come along, but they come along with a great sense of entitlement. Everything you've got there, you stole from me. Now, in addition to that, a lot of these people have a very socialist, sort of communist way of existing in these tribal villages where everybody shares everything, and they'll share whatever they have. Sure, the village chieftain may get, first sort of look at the hot chicks to squirrels. There may be issues of the chieftain village tribal elder having better access to some of the resources, but generally they share everything. So when they come to the West, they look around and say, wow, you guys have got so much. Why won't you share it with me? Do I have to be unpleasant and kill a few youths so I can take some of it or steal it? But you have so much. And so they're very, very different view of things. But coming back to the issue of having so much and sharing it, the blacks in the United States who've been living there for hundreds of years still have that African tribal village mentality, or many of them do. So, there's a case in, I think it was New Orleans recently, where a mainly white district or neighborhood wanted to secede from New Orleans. And this was the wealthiest part of New Orleans, and I think it was 90% white. They wanted to secede from New Orleans, and the black people insisted, the activists and the flunkies and the goons, the black people insisted it was racist for the white people to secede. Well, hold on, stop. What do you mean? The white people want to get out of your way and leave you to your own devices. They want to not be interfering or interacting with the black, but that's racist. But if they stay as part of that wide greater city of New Orleans, then that's also racist because they're oppressing you. And this, how can it be both? And this is really the point of the black activism, that whites leaving is racist, whites staying is racist, whites not wanting to interact with blacks is racist, whites wanting to interact with blacks is also racist, and so on. So this is the madness of the crazy propaganda, and the mass media and the activist grievance industry really amplifies this and inflames it to the max. So this white district in New Orleans wanted to secede. I think they did in the end, and but the blacks did everything they could to stop it, and they all claimed it was racist. It's racist because the white people they're the hardworking ones with the jobs and the income and the tax dollars. They're the wealthy ones. It's their wealth that we want. We want their wealth. We want to take their wealth. We are entitled to take their wealth. They must give it to us. And this is part of the overall thing that feeds in. Well, the whites can't deport us back to Africa. Africa's a poor continent. It's dirt poor. So we get, while we're free of whites, we don't then have access to their money and their wealth and their technology and their organization. We don't have access to any of that. That's racist that we don't have it. We must be able to take what we want from them, and anything else is racist. But if we stay among them and we don't have equal outcomes with them, then that is also racist. Now, there's a movie, I think it was from Brazil or one of the South American country anyway, about a movie. It was a ridiculous, fictitious bit of propaganda nonsense, but it talked about how the white people were making up all these stories about black people being involved in crime, none of which was true. It was the evil white fascists, swastika Nazis, the criminals we're not. So they're trying to sort of deflect on that, but the fear is that any black person, black people who are like career criminals or committing crimes, will be deported to Africa. Maybe they'll get some money, or they're going to get the choice. You can have 25 years in prison here in the United States, or we'll deport you to Africa. What do you want? Take your pick. And a lot of people, in this fictitious world, a lot of black people pick I think I'll go to Africa. But as Muhammad Ali sort of once commented when he was in Zaire, when he looked around at the poverty and so on in Africa, he said, thank goodness my descendants were slaves. So even the even a slave in the United States deep south was doing a whole lot better than they would have done if they'd stayed in Africa. Something that the propagandists conveniently ignore or deflect on. So this fear that it's a straw man fear, but nonetheless, it's a fear that this could come one day. Or alternatively, that okay, black people, if you don't like being among us, the white people, you don't like being among us, why don't you all go back to Africa? And by the way, we'll send you there. Now, I should point out at the end of the Civil War, there was the American Civil War in the 1860s. There was quite a big movement where a lot of people in the United States were saying, look, these black people, we should send them back to Africa. This is not going to play out well in terms of black people integrating in society and so on, which is extremely prescient, by the way. So the black people were offered a totally free passage to Africa, West Africa. In fact, there was a little country set up for them, free, and they were given materials to build a house or a dwelling, X amount of acres of land and some livestock and this sort of thing, all free, all paid for, and they go. But only 1% took it up. 1 out of every 100 black people took it up, and that area around Africa now is the most corrupt basket case country, or one of the most basket case countries in the world. So that kind of didn't really work out so well in the end. But the idea of blacks wanting access to white wealth at the same time having equal outcomes with white people while they're leeching and parasiting off them, but suggesting that if we're not allowed to leech and parasite off white people, then that is also a racist outrage. I don't know how you can reconcile all this. I really don't. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.